Welcome to the Coastal Kitchen. I'm Karen Mashers, and today we are going back to my past. I am making spaghetti. We are going to make some tomato bruschetta, and for dessert we're having tiramisu, which is sort of a pick-me-up dessert in Italy. But my first effort at cooking was way back when I was in the 8th grade, and spaghetti was the thing that I had to make for my home economics class. So I learned there, and we are going to have another lesson here today. The first thing that I'm going to do with my spaghetti, and this is a meat sauce, is I'm going to put my garlic in. I like a lot of garlic, and I like a lot of onion in my sauce. So let's get this peeled. All right, last one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a nice chop, get it diced up pretty fair. Okay, garlic is done. Now time for my onion. And I've got a rather large onion, and if you like onion like I do, you're going to want to use the whole thing. If you don't, cut it down to about 1/2 to 3/4. Remember, it's the way you like it. And let's get that piece. Okay. Now we've got our onion. I'm putting 3 tablespoons in my great big pan. That's olive oil, extra virgin. And let me grab a okay, gonna put it on medium-high heat, and I'm just gonna roll this around. Want it to coat the whole bottom of the pan. It only takes about a second for that to start really getting hot. Let's grab a hold of my meat and push this over. While that's getting hot, we've got ground beef and we've got Italian sausage. And I'm using the medium spicy Italian sausage, and ground beef, I'm using the 80%. I want a little bit of that fat in the meat. And what we're going to do is crumble this up a little bit, because I want to mix the ground beef with the Italian sausage. Get it all mixed together. Wash my hands, get that nice and clean. And it looks like my oil is ready. Let's throw these onions and this garlic in together. Oh, hear that sizzle. It's getting good. This is the best smelling time in the kitchen, onions and garlic. Now I want to just stir it around to make it even. We're going to let this cook until it's golden brown. Don't want it to burn. Get all that olive oil mixed into the onions and garlic. Alright, these onions and this garlic are starting to sizzle. I'm going to turn it down to low, and I am going to put our meat in. You know, this is one of the reasons I love to cook, and that's to have my grandchildren over, and thank goodness spaghetti is one of their favorite things. Alright, meat in, and this is where we want to keep stirring to make sure that the meat crumbles completely. This is going to take about 7 minutes to brown thoroughly, And remember, you don't want any pink. Not when you're making spaghetti. Okay, meat's all browned, looks fabulous, smells delicious. We're gonna do something real fast here. I'm gonna drain some of the grease off of this because, as I said, we used a little bit higher content of fat in our ground beef. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to tip it down. Okay. Now that can just be discarded. All right, time to do some seasoning here. Let's grab my Italian seasoning. I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons in and get that in. Give it a little stir. Going to put a little fresh ground pepper in, and this is to taste. We're going to take a little sample in a few minutes once we get our tomatoes in, and we'll see if we need to add any more. Some salt, and one more thing, and I always add it to my meat mixture, and that's a little bit of sugar, because the amount of tomatoes that we're using causes a lot of acidity, and you don't want it to taste bitter. You want your spaghetti to taste really nice and smooth. So we're going to get that in, and now comes our tomato sauce. I'm going to put in 1 29-ounce can of tomato sauce. Little stir here. I've got this on low. I've got 4 cups of diced tomatoes. Now in the summertime, if you happen to be making it, you can use tomatoes that you've grown in your own garden. Just give them a quick parboil, peel them, and dice them up. Okay. Now, my secret ingredient is about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of Rotel tomatoes. Gives it a nice little kick, but it's not too much for kids. And last but not least, tomato paste. Nice small can. All right, we're going to let that meld together for just about 3 minutes, and we will add our water right now. I've got a cup of water. I'm going to put that in. This should start to boil again, and then we're going to let it simmer for about an hour. The only thing left to put in is our parsley. So while that's cooking, I'm going to start chopping up a little bit of parsley. Okay. Grab it, roll it, and start chopping. Okay. About a tablespoon there. Sprinkle it all around. And I'm going to throw in 2 bay leaves. I'm going to give it a quick stir. And sometimes I'll add my mushrooms in before I add my tomatoes. But today we're putting them in while this is boiling. And I've got fresh mushrooms. About 16 ounces. And this is something that if you want to use canned, use a can of mushrooms, the pieces and stems, and add all the liquid in with it too. All right, these mushrooms are going to cook down while we leave this simmer for about an hour. And I'm going to clean up just a little bit. We're going to have a word from our sponsor, and I'll be back with you so we can start making our tiramisu.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
Okay, welcome back. I've got my double boiler on. I've got just enough water to make some lovely steam. I have got 6 egg yolks, and I've made some vanilla sugar. Now, to make vanilla sugar, it's really easy. Just take a vanilla bean, take the seeds out of it after you split it, put it into about 1.5 cups of sugar, and let it sit for about a week, covered tightly, and you've got vanilla sugar. Because otherwise it's pretty expensive in the stores, the specialty stores. So I've got my first cup right here, and we are going to take our eggs and our sugar over to my double boiler. And we're going to coddle the eggs. For tiramisu is a dessert that, especially in Italy, it's used as a pick-me-up. It's a waker-upper because it's got coffee and coffee-flavored liqueur in it. And so we're going to make sure that these eggs are coddled. And I'm going to add my sugar as I put this in. I'm going to turn this down to low. Now, this is something you really need to watch carefully. I'm going to start using my whisk. We don't want scrambled eggs, you know. We just want to coddle these so we don't get any bad things out of uncooked eggs. All right, looks like we've got this just about ready here. I'm going to turn off my heat and take this over to my little work area. Now I'm going to give that a good stir, and I'm going to leave that in there. It has to cool, okay? So while it cools, I'm going to start mixing up my mascarpone cheese. That's just like a sweetened Italian cream cheese. Just want to give it a nice mix here while we wait for our egg and sugar mixture to cool down a little bit. All right, we're going to do just a little bit of preparation. Now I'm going to set this right over here and show you what I've done so we can get ready with our lady fingers. Now, I have already made up my mixture that I soak the lady fingers in. Now, you can use instant coffee and about 3/4 cup of water. Make it strong. If you've brewed coffee in the morning, keep a cup. Let it get strong. And then I've got 1/2 cup of Kahlua, and mix those two together, and this is ready to soak my lady fingers in. Now, the lady fingers that I have, you can sometimes find these at your local grocery store, and I know that Lowe's Foods has them, so you can get them at Lowe's Foods. But if you can't find them, you can make a sponge cake, and they don't have to be perfect. These lady fingers actually come in a package of 24, and they're actually halved for us already. But I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to separate them. So just separate each one so you can get these nice and soaked. And what we're going to do is we're going to soak them in our Kahlua and coffee mixture, but we don't want them to be soggy. We don't want them to start to disintegrate. So I'm going to take a little brush and I'm going to dip one side in, and then the back side that's the really soft side, I'm going to use a little brush to put a little bit more of my mixture on top. So they get the moisture, but they don't start to fall apart. Okay, we're going to put this over here, and I'm going to start my preparation. I'm using a glass dish, and I found that this size works for me. Okay, it's about a 7 by 8, 7 by 9. Okay. If you want, you can put a little bit of the mixture down first, but for this one I'm not. I'm going to dip the back side. I'm going to take my brush. Your fingers smell lovely and vanilla when you get done. Do you know that if you use vanilla as a perfume, it keeps you from eating as much? Alright, last one in my dish. Everything is prepared there. Let me rinse off my fingers. And I've got my egg mixture. It's ready for me to mix with my cheese. So let's get that all off. And grab a spatula here. And we're gonna, I'll throw this away too. We're gonna put this in our cheese mixture. You can see how great that looks. Lovely. Sugar and eggs. Cooked enough so we don't get any germs or bad diseases. Let's stick this right there. And we're going to mix this all together. Want it well incorporated. Alright, if you look real close, you can see some great bits of vanilla from our vanilla sugar. Now, I've got my whipping cream already made. If you need directions on whipping cream, it's on our website. You can search for us at Facebook, The Coastal Kitchen. And we're going to take our whipped cream, and I'm going to add a little bit at a time, fold it in to this mixture. Just want a nice incorporation here. All right, let's get a little bit more. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take half of this mixture and put it right on top of our lady fingers. Just a little bit more. And just spread it all over the top. Good coverage there. Make sure it touches the edges of your dish. And now we're going to start with our second layer. So just drop that in. Give it a nice brush. And start again. Okay, last one. In it goes. Put this over here. Do a quick rinse again. And now I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me. Put on the rest of my filling. And if you want to make a bigger one or have 3 layers, just add a little more of the lady fingers and make a double batch of the filling. Alright, covering it up as we go. This really isn't too hard to do. It's just something you have to make sure that you follow the directions and put it all together. And more than anything else, this is one has to be in the refrigerator overnight because it just does not taste the same if it's not. Okay. all ready to go. Let's stick that there. Now, powdered sugar. We don't use any, not on top. We use cocoa. Okay, so cocoa powder sifted all over the top. And then we're going to stick this in the fridge till it cures overnight. When we take it out, we might have to put a little bit more cocoa powder on it. And I just wanted to show you real fast. Chocolate. I like to do chocolate on top, and I use either milk chocolate or dark chocolate, semi-sweetened, but you can just grate some on the top, give it a little bit more texture. Or I have fun with this too. I love to make little curls, and all you have to do is just shave it with your peeler, and you can shave some great little curls on top. Okay, this is going to go in the fridge. We'll be back in just a few minutes to make our tomato bruschetta.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
Welcome back. While you were away, I took my pasta sauce off of the stove. I'm taking out my bay leaves. I have got my pasta all cooked and drained, and I'm going to put it straight in to my sauce. Let's get everything out of there. Ooh, look at that steam. Now, mix this up gently. Don't want to break the pasta up, because I like to twirl. Just make sure that sauce gets all over these noodles. Now we're going to add some Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to put it all over the top. And what I want to do is just make sure that we've got everything coated and covered. Okay, looks like everything is nicely mixed up. We're going to transfer this into a baking dish, and we're going to bake it at 350 for about half an hour. Now, you can serve it just the way it is, but I like it baked. Let me grab this real fast, because this is where I get sloppy. Right into my baking dish. And this makes enough for, depending on appetites, 8 to 10. No, I can't wait to have a bite. All right, into the oven, 350 for 30 minutes, and it's very heavy, so be careful when you're transporting. And now we're ready to start with our bruschetta. Okay, got some tomatoes, Roma tomatoes cut up, and I need to cut up one last one here. Let's just cut off the tip. And what I've done is cut them in half, and then I'm going to grab a spoon here, and I'm just going to take the center section with the seeds out. Just give it a good little center cut here, and we're going to dice them up into relatively small pieces, but still a good bite size. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to cut each fourth into 3 strips. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these strips that I've cut into thirds, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to cut them about 3 times, and into my bowl they go. Let's get the rest of these done. And with any Italian meal, you've got to have garlic. So I'm going to throw in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. Love it, love it, love it. And again, I love the onions, so I'm going to cut some onions up for my bruschetta. And one more down the road. Okay, in the bowl it goes. We're going to throw in some basil. And I'm just going to cut the basil into strips. And I'm going to use sort of a slanted motion. Be generous. Okay. In the bowl. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and I have to eyeball this. Usually do about 3. And now I'm going to do my balsamic vinegar, and I'm going to use white balsamic. I'm going to put 3 in. Mix it up good. Grab me some salt. And some Parmesan cheese. Put some of that right on top. Get this mixed up, and remember, it's the way you like it. So if you want a little bit more vinegar taste, or if you want a little bit more oil taste, because this is going to go on the top of our baguette. And if you want to be industrious and bake your own, that's great, but I went and bought one, and there's 2 or 3 things you can do with the baguette. The first one that I'm going to tell you about is the way I've done it here. I have taken my baguette and I have sliced it on a bit of an angle. I wanted it to be spread out on my tray. I have taken olive oil and I'm brushing olive oil over the top surface. And what I'm going to do next is take some garlic, which I've got right here. And I'm cutting a clove of garlic in half. And what I'm going to do is just rub the garlic over the oil, because I want this to have a garlic taste. And just remember, if you're serving it or you eat it, whoever's around you needs to eat it too, because otherwise somebody's going to smell like they became a garlic clove. Okay, I'm going to finish this up, put it in an oven at 350, and let it start to get nice and toasty brown. When we come back, should have the spaghetti out of the oven and everything ready for us to sit down and have a wonderful taste.
When you start with local produce, add some homegrown Carolina pride, and mix it all with a commitment to family, you get more than a locally based grocery store. You get the taste of home. Lowe's Foods. Lowe's Foods, proud sponsor of the Coastal Kitchen and ATM CTV.
Okay, looks like we're just about ready to eat. My finishing touch of my Parmesan cheese on top, my Romano. I've got a little side salad, my bruschetta. Doesn't look beautiful the way it came out of the oven. Now, some people don't find themselves able to eat bread anymore. They've got some problems with that, the glutens. So, you know, great thing to do is take a piece of hard salami and put a little bit of the bruschetta on top, and it makes a wonderful substitute. Just remember, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for the Coastal Kitchen. Got my tiramisu with some raspberries, a great red wine, and I'm looking forward to having a fabulous time in just 5 minutes when I get ready to eat this. Have a great day. Come again and visit us at the Coastal Kitchen.